Welcome back to another income portfolio update, showing all of the income I receive outside of my work salary. In this video, I'll give you an update on the dividends I received in May, and my dividend stock portfolio in general, including any stocks that I bought or sold. I'll also discuss my premium bond position and what I won in the May prize draw. And finally, I'll run through my income and expenditure for my real estate investments. What I'm trying to do on this channel is build a portfolio of cash flow generating assets that pay me each month. And these monthly videos show how I'm progressing. So let's get straight into the numbers. Firstly, looking at my dividends. In May, I received £89.12 from 5 different companies. I have seen a small increase of £9.98 from last year's May total of £79.14. Comparing last year's May dividends to this year's, I haven't sold out of any positions, but the only difference is JP Morgan. I received this dividend in May last year, but received this year's in April, as per my last monthly update. Comparing this year's dividends to last year's, it is slowly ticking up. Greenco is £9.09 more, and Realty has doubled. Apple hasn't really moved much, and AT&T and Verizon have moved around £4 and £5. So how do my dividends look if we zoom out and look at the totals? This graph shows how much I had received at this point during the last few years. Again, it's nice to see this increasing, and it's also nice to see where I once was compared to now. From January to May in 2023, I had received £482.81. But from January to May this year, I've received £139.41 more, with a total of £622.22 so far. This feels really positive, and actually surprised me a bit when I saw how much my dividends have grown. Let's now look at this graph, which shows all of the dividends that I've ever received, and we can see that the numbers have been increasing year on year, as I keep contributing and reinvesting my dividends. There are a lot of monthly fluctuations, just due to the different payment dates of my holdings. This is why I prefer to just focus on monthly averages, rather than individual months. So for 2024, I'm currently averaging £124.44 a month, which is still below my 2023 average of £151.01. This is just because my largest payment months are March, June, September and December, so this should catch up next month. And if we look at the average at this point last year, we can see that it was £96.56. So it's motivating to see that the year-to-date average has increased by £27.88. However, to get a more accurate analysis of the average, I'll have to wait and see what the full year average ends up as. All dividends received are always reinvested back into the portfolio to buy more shares that will pay more dividends, and then I just allow the compounding process to do its work. Now let's have a deeper look at my stock portfolio that generates these dividends. It currently stands at £64,205 invested. Being fully transparent as always, here it is showing all unrealised gains and losses. I'm not an expert, I'm not a guru, and I don't pretend to be. Most portfolios will have winners and losers, and I'm no different. However, as a dividend investor, I'm only ever interested in the income that the portfolio generates through dividends, which are always reinvested back into the portfolio. The market value is largely irrelevant to me, as I don't ever plan on selling any of the principal. Being down is actually a good thing for me, as it means that as long as nothing fundamental has changed, I can buy income at a discounted price. For example, if I bought a stock for £50 that paid a £2.50 dividend, the yield would be 5%. If that stock went down to £40 and nothing fundamental had changed, the dividend was still £2.50, the yield would now be 6.25%. Let's now look at how much I deposited into my portfolio during May. Once again, I managed to contribute another £1,667. I'm hoping to invest this amount every month if I can, which means that I'll max out my £20,000 per year ISA allowance and keep all dividends and capital gains tax-free. Being able to do this will really help to turbocharge the snowball effect of building this portfolio and really start to ramp up my dividend amounts each year. I just want to mention that I haven't always been able to invest this amount, as you can see from this graph. From 2019 and 2020, I invested my savings, plus my redundancy payout into the market. But from around 2021 onwards, any deposits were just made from my salary. The jumps in my deposits just coincide with the jumps in my work salary. The more I earn, the more I've been able to invest. These salary increases were very deliberate and very intentional. And I did a recent video where I discussed the 3 things that I focused on to treble my salary in under a decade. Link in the description. The money that I deposit doesn't always get invested into the market straight away. And Trading 212 do offer 5.2% per annum on uninvested cash, which is paid daily. So I do still earn on my deposited cash, even if I'm not putting it into the market just yet. If you do want to sign up to Trading 212, I've put a link in the description. With the May deposit, I now have £4,546 in cash and earned £13.21 in interest over the month. Let's now look at how my total amount invested has grown from zero over time using this graph. The graph keeps going up and up, which just reminds me of how consistent I've been over the years in adding to my portfolio each and every month. There isn't anything special or complicated that I do. I just stay disciplined and stick to my plan of contributing each month and reinvesting all dividends. These regular contributions are a key part of my overall strategy, to keep feeding the portfolio, which increases my dividends and accelerates the compounding process. So let's have a look at the stocks that I've been buying over May. I've spent £2,116 adding to my existing positions. I mentioned last month that I was keen to invest more into my ETFs, but the ones that I currently own are priced really close to their all-time highs. I ended up building a relatively large cash position while I was waiting for a pullback, which did make me a bit uneasy. I want to be invested in the market, but I was also reluctant to buy when I felt like the prices were high. But over May, I just decided to take the plunge and put 40% of my cash position into these 5 ETFs. These buys will add around £75 to my yearly dividend total. I think what I'm going to do in the future is impose a limit to the total cash that I'm prepared to hold, and say to myself that if I ever exceed this limit, I have to put the surplus into the market. For example, if I impose a 3k limit and then deposit another £1,000, then I'll put that £1,000 straight into the market. I'm not sure yet whether that limit will be 3k, 4k or 5k, one for me to think about. After these purchases, this means that the overall yield for my portfolio as a whole currently sits at 3.73%, which has dropped slightly from 3.74% in my last update. This equates to around £2,337 per year in predicted dividends, £197 per month, £46 per week, and £6.48 a day. There will always be a discrepancy between my actual dividends received and my predicted dividends, just due to the timing of me purchasing shares and then being eligible through the ex-date of the dividends. I hold all of my shares in the Trading 212 app, using a stocks and shares ISA, which means that all capital gains and dividends are tax-free, as I'm based in the UK. As mentioned earlier, you can also get 5.2% per year on all uninvested cash. If you are interested in starting a portfolio with Trading 212, I do have a link in the description where you can use my code and we'll both get a free share worth up to £100. And if you wanted to, you can just sell that share straight away and pocket the cash. So let's now have a look at how I'm comparing to my forecast. If you've watched my other portfolio updates this year, you'll know that I've created a forecast that I'm tracking my progress against. If you'd like to know how I calculated this, then I explain it in the January 2024 update video, which I'll link below. Doing this forecast allows me to monitor how this portfolio is developing, and also provides motivation to carry on doing what I'm doing, as it means that I can see what this portfolio could become in the future. So let's now see how I'm doing. Over May, I forecast to add £1,667, and as mentioned earlier, I have contributed that amount again. 5 out of 5 completed so far with the deposits. I also forecasted to receive £91 in dividends, and actually received £89, which was £2 less than expected. So if we add up my invested total plus my cash total, this comes to £68,750. After 5 months, it looks like I'm in a good place to end the year at the 80k portfolio target. I'm still around 2k ahead of schedule right now, so I should easily hit that 80k target if I just simply carry on doing what I'm doing. Finishing the year with around 80k invested means that going into 2025, the portfolio will be generating a dividend of around £250 per month. This keeps me on course to hit 100k by the end of 2025. Hitting 100k is a really important milestone on my investing journey, and I explain why in another video, which people seem to enjoy. Link in the description if you're interested. It is really encouraging to see that if I just keep doing what I'm doing, that by the end of 2028, I could have a portfolio generating nearly £500 a month in dividends. Let's now have a look at what I received for my premium bonds in the May prize draw. If you're a regular to these updates, you'll know that my luck has been out this year, but stay tuned as that has changed this month. My premium bonds are my emergency fund. They're a low-risk investment where you're entered into a monthly prize draw where you can win between £25 and £1 million tax-free. I do find these draws fun, and I do look forward to the monthly draw and seeing if I've won or not. The more you have invested, the more chances you have to win. Any wins that I do have are just automatically reinvested into buying more premium bonds. I have £16,200 invested of the £50,000 maximum that you are allowed. So I've already mentioned that I won this month, but how much did I get? It was a very nice £100 win, which is automatically reinvested back into buying more premium bonds. So I'll be going into next month's draw with £16,300. I also invest in real estate and currently rent out 2 buy-to-let properties and a secure car parking space. So over May, this is what the numbers look like. The rental income has stayed the same. I get £1,000 a month for my 2-bedroom flat and £775 for my 1-bedroom flat. I also get £80 a month for renting out the parking space. The management fee has stayed the same, as has the mortgage. I did mention in last month's update that my fixed rate mortgage was coming to an end in July. I've now just bitten the bullet and fixed the rate again for another 5 years. But this does mean that I'll be paying an extra £80 a month. This isn't ideal, as this extra cost will eat into my profits, but by fixing this cost for 5 years, it at least allows me to plan ahead. I'm also going to use the rental profits this year to pay down my mortgage as much as I can. Typically, the rental profit has tended to help with the cost of living in the past, but I'm planning on overpaying to bring the mortgage payments back down a little bit over the next few years. Moving on to the repairs and maintenance, thankfully I haven't had any more repair bills, which is always nice to see. Therefore, my pre-tax profit over May is £1,004.90. That concludes my monthly update, and this is the summary for the month, with £1,207.23 received. This is a lot higher than last month, mainly due to not having any more real estate repairs and having a small win on the premium bonds. I do document my investing journey on this channel, and you can see how this has been progressing if you go back and watch some of my earlier videos. If you are interested in following along, please subscribe to the channel to make sure that you don't miss any future updates. And if you have enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, as it does help the channel out a lot, and it's something that I really do appreciate. So I hope I've covered everything that you wanted to hear, but if not, feel free to drop me a question in the comments section below. I'll be reading and responding to every message that I can. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.